My name is Clara Foster. I am 34 years old and I forged my boutique from pure grit and thread. The money in my account wasn't just cash. It was my future, my ambition, my entire world. And my own brother-in-law stole it. He didn't even have the decency to look guilty, just smirked. But he forgot one critical detail. I might be family, but I don't back down. I looked him right in the eye and said, "Then I guess you won't mind what happens next." 2 hours later, police officers were kicking down his door. Have you ever been betrayed by your own flesh and blood? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe if you believe karma is a family affair. Growing up in Seattle, I was always the responsible one. My parents ran a humble bookstore, and while my younger sister Olivia was busy chasing parties and popularity, I was saving every dollar from my part-time jobs. After college, I spent 3 grueling years at a corporate retail giant before finally taking the leap. I launched Foster Designs, my own boutique specializing in sustainable, locally sourced clothing. I left my secure job with only $5,000 in savings and a heart full of hope. The first 2 years almost destroyed me. I worked 18-hour days, lived on instant noodles, and funneled every cent back into the business. I lived a minimalist life so my dream could grow. Then, tragedy struck. A reckless driver blew through a red light and took both of my parents from us. The grief shattered me, and I buried myself in my work. Olivia, however, dropped out of college and drifted through a series of dead-end jobs. When our parents' estate was settled, we each received $75,000. I invested every penny into my store. Olivia met Leo at a casino and married him 6 months later. I despised him on sight. He was a smooth operator with a salesman's smile that never reached his eyes, a watch too flashy for his supposed job, and a deeply condescending air. "Your sister's little shop is cute," he had sneered at their wedding reception, "but the real money is in high-risk investments." Leo dominated every conversation, and Olivia began to change. Her light dimmed. She grew quiet, hesitant, always glancing at him for approval before she spoke. She stopped calling me, and when I did see her, she smiled with her mouth, but her eyes were full of shadows. Then came the family reunion. The cabin had been in our family for generations. I had just secured a second location for my boutique, and the $120,000 in my business account was the key to my expansion. 5 years of blood, sweat, and sacrifice were about to pay off. I had no idea the people I called family were already scheming to burn it all to the ground. I arrived at the cabin on a Friday afternoon, my heart light with optimism. My business was thriving, my vendor loan had been approved, and the second boutique was finally becoming a reality. My cousin Maya met me on the porch, her smile genuine, but her eyes worried. "Olivia and Leo got here this morning," she whispered. "Just be prepared." Through the screen door, I heard Leo's booming voice before I even saw him, bragging about some real estate deal that would supposedly double an investor's money overnight. Olivia gave me a brief, tight hug, calling me Clara like she used to, but her eyes darted nervously toward her husband. "The entrepreneur graces us with her presence," Leo smirked, raising a glass of whiskey. "Still selling enough dresses to pay the bills?" I offered a tight smile in return. "Actually, we're expanding. I just signed the lease on a downtown location." "In this economy?" he scoffed, his disbelief barely veiled. Later that evening, I went to my room to answer some work emails. I noticed it immediately. My laptop had been moved. The power cord was plugged into a different outlet. A small detail, but it was wrong. I froze. I opened the device and checked the browser history. It was clean. Too clean. But then I saw the security alert. New login attempt failed from an unrecognized device. My stomach clenched. Someone had tried to get into my accounts within the last hour, while I was downstairs helping with dinner. I changed every one of my passwords, activated two-factor authentication on all of my accounts, and locked my devices in my suitcase. But the knot in my stomach remained. The next morning, I woke to absolute chaos. Sarah, my business partner, called me in a panic. "Clara, the vendor payment was rejected. The bank said there are insufficient funds." My fingers trembled as I pulled up my banking app. Checking account? 0. Savings account? 0. Business account? A single, glaring zero. It was all gone. $120,000 had vanished, transferred overnight to an account I had never seen before. This wasn't a bank error, and it wasn't a random hack. This was someone inside this house, someone who knew exactly what they were doing. And my sister's husband was sitting in the kitchen, sipping coffee as if it were just another Saturday morning. My face must have been a ghostly white when I walked into that kitchen. The cheerful morning conversations died mid-sentence. "My money is gone," I said, my voice hollow. "All of it." "What do you mean, gone?" my Uncle Ben asked, standing up from his chair. I held up my phone, the screen showing the impossible string of zeros. Over $120,000 was drained from my accounts overnight, all transferred to a single account I don't recognize. Gasps and murmurs filled the room. Maya rushed to my side. Only two people remained perfectly still: Olivia, who was staring intently into her coffee cup, and Leo, his arms crossed, his face an unreadable mask. "Did you call the bank?" Maya whispered. "I did. They're right here, on speaker." I put the phone down on the table. The representative's voice was calm and clinical. "Yes, Miss Foster, we can confirm several large transfers occurred starting at 11:42 p.m. and ending at 4:15 a.m. They were initiated from a recognized device at your current location." A chill swept through the room. "Your password and security questions were all answered correctly on the first attempt." The words hit me like a physical blow. This wasn't just fraud. This was an intimate, premeditated betrayal. Someone had used my laptop on my network with my access. My eyes locked onto Leo. "You were near my laptop last night. Were you in my bedroom?" Olivia immediately jumped to his defense. "Are you seriously accusing my husband?" Leo smiled, a slow, condescending smile. "Your sister is being paranoid. Maybe your business partner has sticky fingers. Then show us your bank accounts. If you're so financially secure, prove it." His smirk wavered just for a second. "I don't have to prove a thing to you." "Oh, really? Because if you were innocent, you would be screaming for justice louder than anyone else in this room." Olivia's hands were now trembling. She refused to look at me. Leo tightened his grip on her waist, like he was holding a leash. And then he said the words, his voice cold and smug, "We needed it more than you did." The room erupted. My Uncle Ben shouted, Maya gasped, my Aunt Maria began to cry, but I didn't. I was already reaching for my purse. "Then you won't mind what's coming next," I said, my voice like ice. The second I reached for my phone, Leo lunged. "You are not calling the police," he barked, grabbing for my wrist. My Uncle Ben instantly stepped between us, his body a solid wall. "Back off, Leo," he said, his voice firm. Maya pulled me protectively behind her. Olivia flinched, her face not just scared, but utterly terrified. "Olivia," I said, my voice softening for a moment, "what is really going on here?" She opened her mouth to speak, but Leo cut her off. "We are finished here. Get your bags. We're leaving." "You're not going anywhere until I get every single cent of my money back," I snapped, "or I swear to you I will have you arrested before your car hits the end of the driveway." Leo just laughed. "Good luck with that. That money is gone. It's been moved, buried in accounts you'll never find." That's when a loud bang echoed through the house as the front door flew open. "Police, everyone stay exactly where you are." Two uniformed officers entered, followed by a woman in plain clothes who flashed a badge. "Clara Foster?" she asked, her eyes finding mine. I nodded. "I'm Detective Evans with the Seattle Police Department. We received a high-priority fraud alert linked to your bank accounts." Leo's face went pale. "This is all a misunderstanding." She cut him off sharply. "We have digital evidence from your bank's cybersecurity division. Account transfers, device IDs, and your face, Mr. Vance." His mouth opened, but no sound came out. I pulled out my phone. I installed security software on my devices last year after a hacking scare. It captures photos during login attempts, tracks keystrokes, and even records file access history. I handed it to her. "Here," I said. "You'll find clear images of Leo using my laptop with complete timestamps and IP address matches. Everything you need is right there." Leo's mask finally crumbled. "You set me up," he screamed. "No," I said, my voice calm. "I protected myself. There's a difference." As the officers put him in handcuffs, he shouted at Olivia, "You think you're safe? You're nothing without me." She stepped forward then, her voice shaking but strong. "I was nothing with you. Without you, I can finally be myself again." Detective Evans looked at me. "With this much evidence, you will likely recover most of the stolen funds. More importantly, he won't be able to hurt anyone else for a very long time." For the first time in days, I let myself breathe. It wasn't over, but the first, most important battle had been won. A month later, I stood in the soft morning light of my second boutique. It was open, it was thriving, and it was safe. Foster Designs had survived, not because I was lucky, but because I was prepared, because I had trusted my instincts and refused to allow betrayal to be the final word. The bank recovered 97% of the money, the rest was covered by fraud insurance. But the financial victory was never the most important one. The real victory was Olivia. She moved in with me, filed for divorce, and re-enrolled in her college classes. The dark shadows under her eyes began to fade. She started laughing again, painting again. She was healing. She told me something last night as we were chopping vegetables for dinner, just like we used to do with our mom. "You were so brave, Clara, for protecting what you built. I want to be brave enough to rebuild what I lost." And she is. Leo pleaded guilty to fraud, coercion, and identity theft. He'll be in prison for a long time, but his reign of terror ended the day Olivia stood up and declared, "I'm done being afraid." Last weekend, we went back to the cabin, not for a reunion, but for a restart. The entire family was there, pitching in to repaint, repair, and reclaim the space that had almost torn us apart. We established a new family charter, unspoken but understood by all. Real family protects. It doesn't prey. If you have ever had to cut a toxic person out of your life to protect what you love, I see you. Drop a comment if you've ever had to say, "Enough is enough." And if you're still gathering your own courage, you can borrow some of mine, because being related by blood does not give anyone the right to break your spirit.